Today I'm going to rip apart the new trendy way to train. So to give you the backstory, last week I made a video responding to a Jeff Nippel post where he talks about the best way to structure your sets, and I disagreed with a couple points of it, and one of them in particular, and because his fan base is a bunch of angry little virgin losers, they absolutely hit me with dog's abuse on the posts, and I actually ended up on my main feed on YouTube by accident, and there's loads of comments on there telling me how bad a person I am, and how I'm small and I can't talk until I go to the gym, and how Jeff's twice the size of me. And you may not be able to tell, but I'm actually, I think, 15 kilos heavier than Jeff Nippel. And I know it maybe doesn't look it because, you know, I've not got the most flattering genetics for making my muscles pop, but I do walk about 93 kilos with abs. So I know a thing or two about how to build muscle, and I've also done 280 deadlifts, 220 squats, so I know a thing or two about getting strong as well. And I had my fun in responding to the comments, and the people who did actually try and debate me, I gave a pretty logical answer as to my reasoning, and I was just going to leave it at that. But then I went into the gym this week and I had a conversation with someone unrelated to any of my online shenanigans, and it basically just confirmed everything that I had said in my whole reasoning, and I'll let you know what the conversation is a little bit further into the video. But I'm going to get into it now, and if you don't know what the hell I'm on about, I'm going to tell you why the reverse pyramid rep structure is killing your gains. And if you don't know what reverse pyramid means, it's basically where you conserve energy on the way up to a top set and you do minimal work, and you do a really heavy and hard top set, and then you follow that up with a drop set or two afterwards. So basically, instead of doing volume on the way up, you save yourself to get up and then you do the volume on the way down. Now this is like been the trendy way to train for the last little while, and the funny thing is that bodybuilding used to all be about volume and how you can do like a lot of work and do the most work. But in the last few years, the Instagram bodybuilders have taken it upon themselves to make this like the new be all and end all way to train, at least in terms of like your main exercises anyway. What's ironic about it is it's actually a powerlifting style of training. And I've noticed it more and more seeping into more people's training in the last few years, and from coaches just to general people online, when they're talking about their training and posting videos, they're always talking about like their working set at an exercise rather than working sets. And it's not that I dislike this way of training, and there certainly are some benefits to it. The first and foremost being that you can use a big massive fuck off weight, in fact the heaviest weight you're ever going to lift in fact, because you are saving yourself on the way up, so you can, you know, lift the most that you possibly can. So obviously that's a really big positive point. So why don't I actually like training like this? And it's quite simple really. It's just down to the fact that you're just not getting in enough volume at the particular exercise where you're actually getting proficient at the movement and you're practicing the skill of the exercise, for lack of a better term, that's going to lead you to have sustainable gains. And what I found when you train like this is that it does have a really short shelf life, and fucking hell, try and say that 3 times fast. But you will make a lot of gains really quickly, but after about that 6 to 8 week mark, the gains will plateau and die off. 2 working sets is just not enough volume, and especially when you do start getting into like the lower reps, which are going to, because the whole idea is that this method allows you to use the heaviest weights, which then in turn obviously brings the reps lower down. You might only end up doing something like 10 working reps in a session for that exercise, and that ultimately is not going to be enough volume to make you stronger over a sustained period of time, and then that strength obviously leading to muscle being built. And if having a high amount of volume on an exercise wasn't a factor in getting you stronger and then building your muscle, we would just all be doing 1 rep maxes all the time. And if you just go in the gym and just continually go for singles all the time, you're just not going to get any success. And that's why even when you are like a strength athlete and training for powerlifting and wanting to get big 1 rep maxes, you do go through periods where you do higher reps and higher volume, because that ultimately leads you to getting stronger when you get to the lower volume. And this isn't just me projecting my own experience, by the way. This is what happens when I use this method with my clients, and yes, I do use it with my clients, and there's a time and a place for it, which I will get into. And then also when I do study people as well, and you may not think it, but through all the tit and sex jokes and daftness, I do study this shit every day of my life, and I'm always paying attention to people and what they're doing and what effects their training's having, and I can say pretty confidently I see people doing the big top set, drop sets, and they get really good progress pretty quickly, and then it comes to a while and then you just see them lifting the same weight for the same reps over and over again, and they just don't actually progress on. And obviously from a coaching point of view, I'm always coaching in the long term. I'm not just trying to get my clients to get as much weight on the bar as quick as possible to inflate my ego. I'm always thinking what's best for them in the long term and playing the long game. Now you may be thinking, well, if you're saying 2 working sets isn't enough, why do you not just do more drop sets? And that is what some people sometimes do. And to be fair, that's not bad reasoning, but what I will say is, if you do 2 really hard sets where you just go all out, and especially especially on exercises like squats and deadlifts, you're going to be absolutely fucked physically and mentally, and there is no way you can perform at your best after that. And then the counter argument to that is that you can still build muscle when you are fatigued, and yeah, that might be true, but you're not going to build it as well as when you're actually relatively fresh. And for how hard those extra sets on top of the two are going to feel, I would then class that as junk volume, because you're actually not going to be getting that much from how hard that is going to be. And on that note, what ended up prompting me on making this video was a conversation that I had in the gym, which I'm going to tell you now. Without naming any names, this guy was being coached by an elite level powerlifter and training in the reverse pyramid style of training. And he kind of felt like he just wasn't really making too much progress, so he decided to kind of take a break and start training and coaching himself. And when he started training on his own, he started doing what I had suggested in my video was best for doing the bulk of your training, which was just doing like normal pyramids, which is where you have your reps and you work up to a top set and you keep the same number of reps as you work up. And I'm not saying he started doing it because he heard me say it, but it probably was. And what that resulted in was him getting stronger whilst he was actually losing weight. And he said the exact same thing as I basically just said there, and that he preferred doing his volume with the lighter sets on the way up to the top set because it wasn't affecting his strength, which it won't, and he also felt he was actually able to get a lot more from his lighter sets because he was doing them when he was relatively fresher. And before, when he was doing that big heavy set at the end, the thought of then having to come back and do volume, he says he just couldn't push himself through it the same. And that's just my personal opinion of how I think you should do the bulk of your training, doing those normal pyramids where you're just working up with keeping a decent amount of volume. People seem to think nowadays that you do anything other than like 4 fucking warm-up sets of 2 reps and you're going to be like too tired to like perform at your best on your top set. It's just a lot of shite. And in my evidence with myself and with a fairly large client base, when you do those reverse pyramid sets and you work up conservatively, you're probably going to get an extra 1 or 2 reps at a weight that you have done reps on the way up till normally. So for example, if you'd done sets of 5 on the way up and got 5 at 100, you'd probably be able to get 6 or 7. And yeah, obviously it's great to go and find ways to get those extra 1 and 2 reps, but it's hardly a big massive drop off, is it? Like 1 or 2 reps if you were doing your volume on the way up. And that's my whole point, that doing the reverse pyramids are great, but you've got to do it from having a solid base of a decent amount of volume built up. You go through your period of keeping the volume high and pushing poundage, then when you get to a point where you do want to go out and try and get those extra few reps and get those extra few kilos on the bar, that's when you start to be conservative with your energy on the way up to a top set, and then you can just go balls to the wall and then catch a little bit of volume after it on the way back down. But please believe me, if you're just doing that cold turkey without having actually built a solid foundation of volume built up and strength obviously through that volume, you're just going to peter out so fucking quickly. So that's my 2 cents on the matter, and if you do want to know more about my personal coaching methods, you don't have to listen to me tell them for you. You can start to experience it yourself for free with my 4 weeks free coaching, which is linked below. I'm not even going to talk about anything else down there this week. You can take a look, but that's just launched where I'm coaching you 4 weeks for free. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that, and if you're wondering what is, it's pretty self-explanatory. I am coaching you 4 weeks for absolutely nothing. Like and subscribe if you're not a fat loser, and I will catch you in the next video.